Welcome back. Anti-Israel protests breaking out across the country last night on Christmas. Several arrests were made. Some put fake blood on nativity scenes. They chanted that Christmas is canceled amid the war between Israel and the Palestinians. There has been a rampant rise of anti-Semitism across the country as protests supporting terrorists have broken out across the nation since the war began. For more, let's bring in the president of the Family Research Council, Tony Perkins. Tony, good to see you. So are you surprised here that now they're going after Christmas? What does Christmas have to do with what's happening right now in Israel?
Well, Todd, I think we need to realize that anti-Semitism is not the end of their rage. It's just the beginning. And it is against people of the book. We've seen this historically. And back when I was chairing the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, we were tracking the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe. And experts said we were right to do so because it's the canary in the coal mine when it comes to religious hostility. And that's what we're seeing. It's not going to stop with anger toward Israel for protecting themselves. It is going to be directed, as we saw last night on the streets of America, toward Christians.
Yeah, I think that's the troubling part. A lot of folks have really misunderstood what's happening in the Middle East right now. We're not dealing with a political issue. This is a religious matter at its core. Would you agree with that?
I would. And unfortunately, people are not seeing that. Even the Pope himself calling on Israel to basically lay down their weapons and stop trying to defend themselves against the terrorists. Why isn't the Pope and all those on the left, why are they not calling on Hamas to give themselves up, the organizers and perpetrators of October the 7th, if the concern is about the Palestinian civilians? And I'm concerned for them. I'm concerned for all the people. As Christians, we're called to pray for the peace of Jerusalem and Israel and that whole region of the world. We want peace. But we can't have a false peace, calling for a two-state solution. We've seen how that's worked out with Gaza. They were governing themselves, and all they were doing was building up arms, preparing for a day when they could perpetrate what they did on October the 7th.
So, Tony, let's talk about what people in this country should be doing, both Christians and Jews working together.
Well, number one, I think we need to recognize Israel as our long-standing ally in the Middle East, all right, from a political standpoint. But let's talk about this, as you mentioned, from a religious standpoint. Look, the Christian faith comes from the Jewish faith. Jesus was Jewish. They have been the custodians of the faith. They have given us our Bible, our scripture. And so we, I believe, have an obligation to stand with them as we're instructed in Scripture. And we want to make sure they do what is right, but they have a right to protect themselves. And that's what this is about, them able to secure their own borders and protect their people from the atrocities that we saw on October the 7th. And I think America is at grave danger itself if we step in the way between Israel and their own security by telling them that they have to back off. They need to be allowed to finish the job.
Well said, and I appreciate you clarifying. There's been a lot of talk over the past 48 hours over whether or not Jesus was Asian, as Christianity Today alleged, or AOC called him a Palestinian. So we appreciate you setting the record straight there.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. History tells us exactly who he was. And there's only one Jesus, by the way. There's not many Jesuses the Pope referred to, just one.
Well said. All right, Tony, we got to leave it there. Always great seeing you. Happy New Year to you and the great folks at Family Research Council.
Thank you, Todd.